good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of On Point for today, Friday, the 19th day of January 2024. And of course, my name is Alexis Jeffers, and I am pleased to be here with you once again for another edition of this program. So let me start off by welcoming and shouting up all of the folks who have joined us at this time, whether you're here on the island of Nevis, and let me start right up there in St. James at the bottom of Zion Hill, all the way into St. Thomas Parish and around to St. Paul's, St. John's, into St. George's, and right back around to the bottom of Zion Hill. So I've covered the entire island of Nevis and everywhere in between. I also want to welcome the folks down there in St. Kitts, who are normal listeners of this program. We want to welcome you. Indeed, we continue to grow our following because I get calls from time to time from persons down in, we say St. Eustatius, but Statia to be short, Sabre, Dutch and French St. Martin, US and British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, of course, and I say good afternoon to my godmother down there, Eloise, Eloise Wallace. Well, that is a surprise to her, I'm sure. Of course, we go up into the United States, the eastern coast and west and everywhere in between, the Midwest and so forth. You're having some challenges there in the United States with some really severe weather conditions, a lot of cold weather spanning most of the United States up into the Northeast and so forth. Well, I will say to you, in the United States, if you are fed up of the cold, you know where to come, because while I was driving here this afternoon, I said the weather outside is just beautiful. The sun is out, yes. We had some rain, just, some showers recently, but that is to keep the dust down, so to speak, nothing torrential at all. But the weather here in Nevis is just fantastic, and the trees are looking marvelous, the lawns are green, and everything just look lush. So Nevis is looking pristine at this point in time. I'm using all of these adjectives to entice some of you to jump on a plane tomorrow or next week, if you possibly can, to come home and pay us a visit, because things are so nice here in Nevis. You know, this in Nevis is nice, and it's not just rhetoric, it is a fact. But I was just shouting up you folks in the United States and bringing some warm weather to you. And also, while I'm at that, let me shout up all of our listeners up there in Europe, in England, in France, in Germany. We have, we have Nevisians and also Kittitians in all of these countries, whether one, two, or many. Then, of course, in Asia, we want to shout up or say good morning to the folks over there in Asia, especially those in the Republic of China, Taiwan, who are studying there or living there. We say good morning to you. Indeed, I made it my business to point out this one to someone the other day. I said I should shout up folks in Russia as well. We have the turmoil that is going on there, but we have Russians who have our passports. Indeed, Russians are also, some Russians, there are a number of Russians who are citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis. Well, of course, I don't know if they're listening, but it's probably about 8 p.m. in the evening there in Russia, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. They're about 7 or 8 hours ahead of us, I believe. I'm guessing, but that's what my knowledge tells me. Whatever it is, I'm not going to spend any time on that, but I say welcome to one and all. And we have to do this because with the modern technology that we have these days, we cannot just say good afternoon to Nevisians. No more we do that. We cannot do that anymore. We have to shout up everyone wherever you are, because we know Von Radio for sure is going via the World Wide Web, whether through YouTube, Facebook, whatever the platform is, and persons are listening. People want to know what's going on in their homeland. So we're here to let you know, and of course stay tuned to Von Radio, because here is where you'll get all of your information. We start this afternoon as usual. We start with birthday greetings and condolences, but we start on a sad note this afternoon because last evening we were informed of the news of the passing of one of our stalwarts, an important and iconic figure here on the island of Nevis, Mr. Joseph Liburn. Some will meet him and greet him and say, Libby, Some will say Joseph, or there may be other names, but I know I would greet him by saying, Libby, what's up? You know? So that's what I remember him by, or being called. And of course, I've known Joseph Libert for a number of years, and I can say quite a number of things, and I'm sure many of you out there as well can speak fondly of Mr. Libert and his contribution to the development of the island of Nevis, to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and of course wider field. But I want to say that my knowledge and my relationship with Mr. Libert goes way back to my childhood days when we were learning to play volleyball right over there on the Whitehall play field. You know, we didn't have a hard court or anything at that point in time. We marked out a volleyball court right there on the grass, you know. And Libert would have come from Zion area and come over and taught us the game of volleyball. And indeed, we would have gone from Whitehall, gone to Zion, gone to Charlestown. We have gone throughout the island of Nevis and played volleyball. I was one of the shorter guys then, but anyway, the net was way above me, but I thought I was a young, agile fellow who could jump all the way up there and spike a ball. Be that as it may, we were taught that skill and that game by Joseph Libert. Indeed, he was also a bodybuilder. He was into bodybuilding. And indeed, those are the sports side of it. I'm sure others can speak of football and perhaps cricket, but I'm reminded of volleyball because he was the one who taught us how to play volleyball way back then. Persons like Oral Brandy, who I'm sure is certainly affected immensely by this loss. He was one who played volleyball with us then too, and Veli Maynard and all those guys over there who grew up in Brick Hill. We can all recall those days. And I say Oral Brandy, but he's what you call a lefty, so he was serving with his left hand, and he looked kind of awkward, you know. But Oral, I'm just saying these things, but you just smile at that. But basically, what I'm saying is that in those days, we knew Mr. Libert then. And of course, as he went on in his profession of policing, we grew to know him more. And indeed, he would have been one who worked his way up the ranks to become the Assistant Commissioner of Police here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I think he served for a few years, and indeed retired and stayed in security to some extent because he was in charge of security over there at the Medical University of the Americas up until his passing, from what I can recall, from what I know, I should say. So he was playing his part. As a matter of fact, up until his passing as well, he was the chairman of the Nevis Air and Support Authority, NASPA. So he was working, and he was contributing, and he has contributed, and of course he would leave a void, no doubt about that. And his prowess and his contribution must have been felt by every single citizen here on the island of Nevis and in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And I want to say to the entire family of Mr. Libert that we share in your loss, we share in your grief, because indeed someone like Libert will not be forgotten as easily as that. I'm sure those of you who are in his phone database would get his text messages every morning between 6:45 and 7 a.m. thereabout. I used to get those as well up until Wednesday, I believe. I can't recall. No, I didn't see one yesterday. But of course, I didn't think anything of it because I figured that it was one of those situations where he didn't get around to it. But indeed, he must have been going through some challenges at that point in time. But those text messages, those thought for the day, came in Monday to Sunday, every single day of the week. And some people may have told themselves, well, I've had enough, let me just block that. No, it has been going on for many years, quite a number of years now. And I never had a difficulty with receiving them, reading them, and get some inspiration from them, and in some cases use them as well to my advantage to some extent. So be it great or small, he made his contribution, and he touched many many lives as a result. He has had his challenges family-wise as well too, because of course, recently we had the passing of one of his sons, Trevi, and then prior to that a brother. And of course I recall his brother when I went to Gingerland Secondary School. Well, we used to call him by nickname Plus. I forgot his first name, but anyway, Liebert is the last name, but we used to call him Plus, but I forget, honestly, I've forgotten his first name. But he was I believe a maths teacher, accounts teacher or something. He never taught me per se, but he taught at the Gingerland Secondary School when I was there in the upper forms, of course. Yeah. So all in all, the Liebert family is one that have contributed, and Joseph Liebert is no exception. And really, and when I say it was indeed a surprise to many, including myself, that is no understatement at all, and I'm sure his loss will be felt for some time. So tough as it is, life is what it is. There's certain uncertainties these days, and you hear people talk about persons departing life, just like that, but let us continue to have faith in God, faith in what He has, laid out for all of us, and that is all we can do, is just go with what timetable we are provided. And of course, when the time comes, it comes, and it's always a difficult time, but it's something we cannot stop. Trials we may, we cannot stop it. So may his soul continue to rest in peace, and we'll listen up for all of the arrangements that will be made accordingly, so that we can lend our support to the family when the time comes. That is indeed a difficult one. Also, a friend of mine would have passed away in England earlier this month, and I believe his funeral is on the 23rd of January. I heard that this morning. He's Theodore, we call him Theo Wallace, the husband of Mrs. Paula Wallace. We all know Paula Wallace in Fountain. Theo, I tell you, Theo was one of those guys. I call him a jack of all trade. I don't want to add the rest to that, but he's a jack of all trade. He was a plumber, he was an electrician, he was a manufacturer, because he had this business over there in Newcastle called Waltech. He used to manufacture, different metal products and so forth. He felt he can make anything anyway. That is how he felt. And he also felt he had a solution to everything out there. That's why I say he was jack of all trade, because if you fabricate something, he can tell you he can do it differently. And that's the type of person Theo was. We learned of his passing, some time ago, but I don't think I had a chance to mention that on here and give my respect and regards to his family as well. Paula, I did mention Paula. Of course, he had two daughters, Terrell and Therese, but the funeral service will be held in England on the 23rd. We want to extend our condolences, of course, to the entire family, and wish them God's protection and guidance throughout this entire difficult period of time. Losing someone is never an easy thing, because there's some finality to it, finality in terms of not being able to see that person again in their body and flesh. So that is how final it is. But of course, we who are believers would want to believe that and think that we would one day meet again. But Theo, may his soul rest in peace, and Paula and the entire family over there in Newcastle, up in England, up there in Fountain, Spring Hill area. All who knew Theo, we join with you in expressing our condolences, and understand that we all share in this loss of Theo Wallace. Of course, tomorrow, I believe as well, is the funeral for Mr. Lincoln Cornelius. Those of you who work at the port would know Lincoln well. I knew Lincoln from I was a little boy, because when he started coming to Brick Hill, him and also his brothers, what's his name, Lincoln and oh man, sometimes I come on the radio and some of the names just slip me, not that I'm getting old, but there are so many things in the head that I forget. Lincoln and his brother who work with him there, he's the father of my friend there in Madden's. Okay, Well, it would come back to me, I'm sure. But Lincoln passed away, and of course, the funeral will be tomorrow morning, I believe, over there at the Eden Brown Church of God. That's over there in Butler's Eden Brown area. And indeed, Lincoln, like I said, I knew him from I was a little boy. That's when he started coming. Oh, Oliver is his brother, yes. And also there is another brother who works there at Flo. Well, the names are not coming, but that's okay. So yeah, I knew them coming over to the country areas and coming to, take away all of our beautiful ladies from that area. So I used to say, what is tonguemen coming to to Brick Hill for? But of course there was something good drawing them to Brooklyn. Of course, Lincoln would have gotten married to Valerie Griffin, and indeed they have one son who is Bian. I taught Bian over there at the St. James Primary School when he was much younger. He's now at Customs, of course, and I've had some exploits there as well. Bian, accept my sympathies. Valerie, same thing to you, and indeed the entire Griffin family over there in Brick Hill. We call it Over the Gut. There are so many names for that area. Pan Piece, Over the Gut. Well, we all know. I don't even want to say the other name, but let me say it, Lodging Gut. We used to call it over there in Brick Hill. That's where the Griffins are from. And I say these because these are things that we grew up on, and the things that we smile about still, because it brings some joy to know where we have all come from, where we are and where we're headed to. Well, of course, we're all headed to the cemetery someday, but many of us are heading up the ladder of success in terms of where we have come from and the difficulties that we would have faced getting to where we are. And that is why I don't mind talking about these places and names that were given to some of the places that we came from as little boys and little girls. I sort of segued into that, but Lincoln is who I was talking about, and when he came over there and then moved the family there to Charlestown and that kind of thing. But we certainly will miss his contribution, because of course he was a delivery driver. He had his own business, he had his own truck, and you would see him from time to time moving barrels and boxes and cargo from Long Point to various parts of the island of Nevis. So many of the households here at Nevis would know of Lincoln, and they were served by him. They were recipient of his service, and we want to say, of course, that void will be there, because you won't see Lincoln anymore coming, but hopefully the business can continue and the contribution can continue to the island of Nevis, indeed. So those are what I have in terms of condolences, and indeed we move from condolences sometimes to much brighter times and much more happy times in terms of birthdays. I don't have anyone on my list, but I know for a fact there must be persons out there celebrating at this time. So if you're celebrating, have a wonderful day today. Enjoy it to the max. And as I've always said, whatever you have in your pocket, on your bank account, or wherever it is, go and take up some money and spend it on yourself. And even if you take up all your money and spend it on yourself, it still won't be enough, because you deserve more than that. But whatever you have, enjoy your birthday, because it could very well be your last. I'm hoping that you'll live to see many more. But then again, how things are these days, you never know. So I am saying, when your birthday comes around, have a blast, have a wonderful time. Take time out for yourself. Go and have, a massage. Massage, that's the word? Go and do a pedicure, manicure, whatever you have to do. Freshen up yourself, brighten up yourself, make yourself happy, because no one can do it like you can do it to yourself. And go and spend your money on yourself, because you deserve it. And of course, I wish that you live to see many more, whoever is celebrating, whether it's birthday or anniversaries. Okay, so that takes care of that, and indeed we continue to seek God's blessing on everything that we do and say here on the island of Nevis, because these are times when we should be your brother's keeper. These are times when we have to think positive and look for the best in all of us, to draw on that and make sure we can even make it better. Yeah, so things will continue to be good for all of us here on the island of Nevis, God's help. Yes, as I drove here this afternoon, one of the things that came to mind is that over the years we've been hearing a lot of negatives about potholes all up and down Nevis. That is after the festive season going into January. You hear people saying, oh man, so many potholes all over the island. I am here to say this afternoon, something good must be happening around here, because I drove the roads from Newcastle to Charlestown. I've driven all around the island. I've driven even on those off roads, and the roads are so nice. I saw one or two potholes. Well, that's fine. But we've had challenges over the years, and I believe I want to commend Public Works for, at least before they went on their break in December, they would have done a good job in terms of maintenance of the road. So at least in January, we don't have all of those rhetoric on Facebook and on social media talking about, the road is so bad. Roads are good now. Roads are good. And in time, with all of the negatives that you hear, in time, things are fixed to the point where those negatives are forgotten about and we are thinking about positive. Because you look over there at the bypass road. I drove it this morning and it is nicely marked with the cat eyes in the middle of the road. Now I have to drive it tonight. You know what? I'm going to leave country tonight and drive the bypass road. Just look at those cat eyes. I laugh because we have come a long way in the right direction, because there was a time when that bypass road was the talk of the town, bypass road, and all of the negatives were being said, and now we have a beautiful surface over there, well marked. And I want to point out something to the people of Nevis. There's a heavy line from all the way down there by Penniless, all the way down to the end of the road over there at Pennies. There's no broken line in the middle or in the center of the road. What that means, you shouldn't be overtaking on the road. You shouldn't be overtaking once there's no broken line. So in terms of speeding, overtaking, of course you have to pass someone, meaning if someone stop on the road, you have to pass on the right to be on your way. But in terms of overtaking, it should not be happening on the bypass road, because it is clearly marked, and if you do that, you're breaking the traffic laws. So right now as it is meant to say, well, stay within the speed limit. I know the surface is nice. It can be tempting. It can be one that you tell yourself, as the old people or young people would say, why I feel like putting my foot in the tank. Please don't do that. We've had a tragic situation over there over the last month or so, and we don't want to have those situations or those scenarios once again. So enjoy the road, but keep in mind that there are other road users who you don't want to create any difficulty for yourself or for them. But it was a blessing driving that road this morning and seeing it marked, properly marked. And as you talk about Facebook and so forth, I'm just going to go into something as quickly. Down there in Charleston, where you have what is called the finger pier, the tender pier. Some years ago, I believe it was in 2017, there was a lot of talk about, there was a platform there that was a wooden platform that was removed with some storm surge in 2017 when we had Maria and some other hurricane. They did not do any damage here in Nevis, but other neighboring islands were heavily impacted. But that platform was removed, and listen, that was, it was the talk of the town as well then, yeah? You go down there now, the entire pier is concrete. The same platform that once was, wood, it is now concrete. The entire pier. So you don't hear anything about the pier anymore, other than when the announcements are made that a cruise ship is in the harbor. Then of course the boaters would have to move their boats, the fishermen that is. And speaking of the fishermen, I would want to say to you, your pier is overdue, and I'm sure that one will be constructed at some point. But there have been some estimates sought to construct a concrete pier right there, just south of the main or the middle pier, the tender pier, so that we can have something for our fisher folks. But that being said, I was talking about the tender pier where we extended it and made it into complete concrete, and now there's no talk about that either. The point I'm trying to make is that of course there'll be negative things being said all the time. And I ask myself the question, well, in all of these negatives, are there any positives you can draw out of them? because all of the negatives you hear about the Newcastle police station, there are some positives, of course. It was an old, dilapidated building, unsafe, and we constructed a brand new building over there, looking so nice. I mean, the surrounding is just a modern surrounding. It looks beautiful, and the police officers that are there can speak of the improved housing condition there, of course. And of course, you look at the Wally Water Taxi facility, a lot of negatives. So I ask myself, are there any positives that can be drawn out of these situations like the Wally Water Taxi facility? Of course there is. Because you go through there, frequency of movement, ease of access to St. Kitts and back to Nevis, of course, and I can go through all. But in all of these things, when you hear all of the negatives, then you ask yourself the question, well, where are the positives? And I want to say to the people of Nevis that most times when you hear a lot of negatives being talked or spoken about, is the fact that people lack the experience, they lack the wisdom, they lack the understanding, and they have nothing other than negative to contribute. But those of us who know better and have done things in this island would want to continue to press on and do the right things, do the positive things. Because even over here at the Mundo track, a lot of negatives were being said about the Mundo track. Oh, flies are going to come out of the dump and into your food and all kind of nonsense. But the Mundo track is one of the best tracks in the Caribbean. Mundo track, I believe that was the first or the second surface laid here in the Caribbean. I believe it's the second or the first, whatever it is. But we're up there in terms of when it was procured and placed there at Long Point. And all of the negatives that were talked about haven't played out as they would have liked them to. Yes, it needs a pavilion built. Yes, that doesn't stop the people from coming either. Yes, it doesn't stop the athletes from performing at their highest level as well. And I see a lot of young athletes being brought to the fore in terms of their talents are being exploited now in terms of them getting scholarships to go abroad and the like. So there are good things happening, and I am not one to dwell on the negatives, but I refuse to engage in anything that is negative because I'm a positive person. The Premier of Nevis is a positive leader. All of the leaders who have come through as the leader of the island of Nevis, I'm sure they have had some positive mental faculties with them, and they wanted to stay positive in terms of developing this island. And right now, as it is, the Honourable Mark Brantley is the leader of the island of Nevis, and I know for a fact that he thinks on the positive side when he is doing, saying, or executing anything. That being said, let's move on, ladies and gentlemen, because we want to stay positive, of course, and time tend to run quickly here on this show. Before I get any further, let me just put in a plug quickly for the Agri Expo 2024. Previously, it was the Agriculture Open Day. Now it's called the Agri Fest or Agri Expo. Sorry, Agri Fest is something else. Agri Expo 2024, and I believe the dates. Not I believe. Let's be certain about this. The dates for that event is the 21st to the 22nd. So it's Thursday, 21st of March to Friday, 22nd of March. 2 days, 2 full days, and of course we know what we have seen, what is to be expected at this event. This is one of the largest agriculture events that is held within the region. I just don't want to say Nevis, but within the region, because of course the numbers says well, it tells a story, plus also the amount of participants and the persons who would travel to Nevis for that event. We have persons from Statia, we have persons from St. Kitts, we have persons from other neighboring islands like Antigua and some of the major allied agencies like the University of the West Indies. We have a connection with CARDI, FAO, IECA, and all of those agencies will send their representatives here to be a part of that event. So I know that this event has carved its own space in the region in terms of its size and what is being offered at this particular event. So I want to extend that invitation to all who are listening. And if you're listening, and of course, if you get a chance to listen to this program later, mark those dates down. On the 21st of March, Thursday the 21st, and it goes until Friday the 22nd of March. While I am on agriculture as well, something came to mind the other day. When we had our challenges during COVID-19, we had this energy going here on the island of Nevis, but indeed in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. But let me speak of Nevis. We had this energy where persons were spending time and effort and energies into backyard gardening. And some of our farmers would have ramped up farming to the point where they were talking about the results and the success that they would have had at that point in time. For some reason, this is just my opinion, I've seen a fall off in the interest that was there before. And I believe what happened in COVID-19 would have necessitated that effort or those efforts. But I do believe that there are certain factors and certain conditions these days that would necessitate us repurposing our efforts. In that, with all of the challenges that we see going on throughout the world, the procurement of planting material, seeds and the likes, the procurement of even produce agricultural products, the movements of those products in terms of shipping of those products and the logistics in getting those things here. There are challenges throughout the world. We understand there are challenges, as I said last week, in the Red Sea. There are challenges along all of the shipping corridors in the Middle East, in anywhere things are being shipped from. It seems like it's a challenge. Because if there's a challenge coming from Asia to the United States, then that would affect goods leaving the United States to come to the Caribbean or to Nevis, for example. If there are difficulties in the Red Sea, that will impact all of the logistics and the timetable of getting those goods and so forth into the United States and then down to us. And so it is important for us to continue to press on in terms of planting more, to have food available to us here on the island of Nevis. And it's not so difficult. If you were to spend some time as you did before, just have the same mindset that you had during COVID-19. Go back to your backyard, continue to plant. Those of you who have fallen off for some reason, go back to what you were doing then. Those of you who are still continuing, I would say press on and plant more if you can. Because of course, if you have sweet potatoes, for example, someone may have bananas, you can always do some bartering. Your neighbor or your villager, you can do some bartering. I give you a couple of hands of banana and you give me some sweet potatoes, then I can have an extra piece of provision that I can cook in my pot. Yeah, I'm just being as basic as I can, because when you hear all of these things about sustainable development goals, 17 sustainable good development goals, that is all some people bring to you. I don't want to hear about that. I want to be as basic and as realistic as possible, because the 17 sustainable development goals, I don't think those were written for the island of Nevis at all, or the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I believe we were used as a model for them to come up with those goals. So when persons are talking about these things as if you're going to live life out of a textbook or whatever, I am a realist. And my thing is, if we need to eat, we need to plant. I remember one day I decided I'm going to plant some coconut trees right at home. Plant 15 of them, 15 trees. I want to thank Maki Trust and all those who donated those to me. And that is where we got the idea from, and the thinking that, listen, with all of the jelly coming in here from south of us, whether it's down in Dominica, down in St. Vincent, let's go and plant our own. And someday soon we'll be able to supply to ourselves and not sit and wait for a boat to send some jelly here that are on the ocean for a week or more. But you get fresh jelly every day. And that is how I was thinking, based on that start, in terms of how I went about things personally and extended to the government, so to speak, where we ordered or brought in those coconut seeds from Guyana and planted them down there at Indian Castle, which are now bearing fruits, because I I believe the last time I was there was some fruiting down there already. So that is how you have to think. I don't want to be bogged down with anything out of a textbook or anything out of a book somewhere. But listen, the reality is, if you need to eat every day, you need to plant something for you to eat as well. Whether it's a papaya tree, you can pick some papaya and do, what do they do with it? Cook soup. I make papa au gratin. I'm just talking about dishes that I can't make, but I hear about them. But I'm telling you that you can do so many things from your backyard. So go ahead and plant. I just had to put that plug in as I was talking about the Agri Expo, that we need to plant more. Go and plant, because tough times are coming as well. If these wars and disturbances and instability continue throughout the globe, we are going to have some serious impact here in the Caribbean, but more so here in Nevis. Let us be forewarned and guard ourselves accordingly. I just wanted to say that, and I'm happy I imparted that. Well, let's move on to something more festive. Culturama. Culturama is coming, people. It is coming, and this year is our 50th anniversary. And indeed, my understanding is that a lot is being planned so as to make sure that Culturama 50 is one for the books and one for the ages. And anytime you achieve a milestone like 50 years, you have a big party. You can travel, go on a cruise, do whatever is necessary to make sure that you welcome your 50th birthday in grand style. So with Culturama, it's no different. So the 50th anniversary is planned for this year, and it is planned for Thursday the 25th of July to the 6th, Tuesday the 6th of August 2024. And indeed, the slogan for Culturama has already been penned, and it was penned by Miss Carmel Allen. I think I got that right? Yes. And she was a former Miss Culture. Beautiful lady, still looking young and happy. I met her in Charleston, I believe, earlier this week. She's still smiling, full of smiles, just like my engineer here, always smiling too. So I love that, because when people smile, they make me laugh. You see, a smile turns into a laugh, and that is good. So the slogan for Culturama 50 is as follows: celebrating culture, embracing history. It's Culturama 50. Short, simple, to the point, and sweet. Just like that. So we are celebrating Culturama 50. And indeed, in celebrating Culturama 50, it reminds me of Culturama 40. In 2014, we celebrated 40 years of Culturama. That was a homecoming which was a blast. I'm sorry to put it that way, but that's the best way I can put it. Because a lot of things were done to start with in terms of the beautification of Charlestown, the beautification of the island, repainting of buildings, fixing up the squares in Charlestown, fixing roads and painting up the buildings along Main Street, and hanging up those buntings and lights, and making sure that when persons come home, whether they're returning nationals, visitors, residents who would have gone abroad and say, well, let me come back home to see what's going on for Culturama, whatever the case might be. Residents do leave and come. They're not citizens, but they reside here, but they go and come anyway. So when they come, we want to make sure that the whole place is inviting, and it would be one of those situations where when they land on Nevis, whether at the airport, whether at the Holy Water taxi facility, or down there in Charlestown, they would say, wow. And if you have not come to Nevis for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years, you'll be surprised with what you meet when you come. Nevis in its current state will be a surprise to many of you if you haven't come since COVID-19 or whatever the case might be. And by the time you get here in July and August of this year, it would even be at a different level when you come, because all efforts would be made to ensure that Nevis is, as they say, tap a tap when you come, Sorry about that, but that's the best way I can put it, tap a tap. And listen, if you're accustomed to going to Antigua, or you're accustomed to going to Barbados, you're accustomed to going to the BVI, I'm just saying, because they're competing with us as well, so there's nothing wrong with me pointing out this. Give Nevis a try this time. If you want to be among friendly people and have a wonderful time and enjoy the food and the ambience and the scenery of Nevis, give Nevis a try this time. If you just want to say, well, let me try somewhere else, and you haven't decided yet, give Nevis a try this time. I'm saying to anyone out there who is listening to me, give Nevis a try for this Culturama. It's 50 years and it's going to be a huge celebration. It's a homecoming celebration, and we intend to have troops on the road. We intend to have wet fete, car race. Herbert Beach will be the best there is. Then you'll have jamming on the streets. You'll have street parade. You'll have Calypso show, Queen show, and of course the food fair, which is one of the larger events that we have here, where you have a kaleidoscope of colors and food from all over the Caribbean, all over the world, but more so the recipes that are available on Nevis will be served right down there at the Malcolm Guichard Park. So I want you to give Nevis a try this time. I'm asking you and begging you to give Nevis a try, because we're going to welcome the world here in Nevis in August. Well, July 25th to the 6th of August this year. Well, those of you who are planning on having or thinking about having a family reunions, this will be one of the occasions for that. So if all of the families in Nevis decide to have a family reunion, we'll have hundreds, probably thousands of persons coming to the island of Nevis and enjoying Nevis. Now, what is the government doing to ensure that we are preparing for such onslaught? I say that the cabinet of the Nevis Island administration have gone to work. They have come up with a package, a homecoming celebration package for Culturama 50. And I will give you an idea as to what they have come up with. And I want to say to everyone out there, there are times when you say you didn't know. And sometimes persons may know and they pretend not to know. I am saying to the people of Nevis that go out and inform yourself as to what is available to you. What I'm going to say to you now, you can go to the Ministry of Finance this afternoon. You can go not tomorrow, on Monday. But what I'm going to say to you runs from the 1st of February down to the 31st of August. So you want to tell yourself that as of the 1st of February, there are certain incentives available to you, and you got to make yourself available to take advantage of these things, because they're to your benefit and to your advantage. Now, I'm going to give you an idea, and let's see what is being offered. Now, this initiative is intended to assist with the beautification of the island of Nevis and aid in the rejuvenation to private homes, commercial buildings, residential buildings, community buildings such as churches and other facilities. So private homes, commercial buildings, residential buildings, community buildings, and such as churches and all other buildings that fall into these categories that I'm giving you. Now, this package will run, as I said before, from February 1 down to August 31st. This year, 2024, with the main focus areas will be on painting of properties, erecting of fence, construction of driveways and walkways, changing of windows, doors, and other physical aesthetics on the external of the property, replacing of furniture and equipment for guest houses and apartments. Well, this is to enhance the accommodation for visitors, and of course the concessions that will be granted will be exemption from import duties and custom service charge on all items falling into the categories above. However, the 17% VAT will be payable. Now, you think about it, there are times when the government would offer certain packages or incentive packages, and then they will say that custom duty is waived, but you have to pay custom service charge and VAT. In this case, the 6% custom service charge will be waived. Whatever the duty is will be waived, and all you'll pay is the VAT, which is 17%. So you can shop here on the island. That will be the case. You could shop overseas and import your goods. Those will be the conditions that you'll be encountered. You will have to encounter. The applicants then, therefore, as I said before, must complete the application form down there at the Ministry of Finance. If you have a building board approval for anything that you intend to do, it must be presented as well. You must have the estimate for those work and also the bill of quantities that is associated with any work to be done. Remember I said you can remove windows. If you have some old windows and you want to put in these modern windows, go and knock them out. If you have a door which is an old broken door and you want to put in something, it's a nice glass in it and looking nice, take it out. But you'll have to have your estimates or bill of quantities available for submission down there at the Ministry of Finance. You also will have to take along with you a valid government identification card, and most important for businesses, you must have a valid business license, and that is for commercial entities, and you must be up to date with your taxes. So if the government is offering you these incentives, you must be in compliance, and that is the bottom line. And you see, sometimes, you know, you hear, as I said before, all of the negatives. You won't hear some people talking about this, you know, because they don't want you to get it. They're not interested in you getting it. But it's extended to even those who are talking negative. It's extended to me. I'm going to see where I fall into this, you know. The government is offering something. I pay my taxes. I am up to date with everything. So I want my share. So I'm going down to the Ministry of Finance and ask them plain if I can get anything. Furniture, I don't know. I'm going to look at it and see. But I'm saying to everyone out there who have a home, private home, residential building, meaning apartments, and you want to change out those old chest of drawers, the old bed, if you think it's the mattress is old and it's time to update that, go ahead and do it. You're going to get some huge saving. And I'll say this to the business houses. Don't start to push up your prices now, you know, because the savings should come down to the consumer. Because you don't have to pay custom duties, so you don't have to add that on. You don't have to pay custom service charge because you don't have to add that on. The VAT we are aware of. But if you have to pay transportation costs, handling costs, you're not paying those duties over there as you would normally do. So the price should be reflective of that. And the people of Nevis should benefit. And when the government put these packages in place, let the people enjoy them. Because the more turnover you have, the volume that you'll turn over will be to your benefit. So I want you to work with the consumers, or the citizens or residents of Nevis who will be taking advantage. When it's all said and done, you hear what we're celebrating? 50 years. A lot of Muslim people have fun for 50 years. When they already fix up the place, they're going to come on the road to jam. And hippie hooray, having a nice time. And that's how we're going to do it for Culturama 50. We're going to start by making sure that when your visitors and family members come home, they're in a nice bed, they're in a nice surrounding, the ambience is nice, and then everybody would have a hunky-dory wonderful time. That is what we're doing this year for Culturama. I'm spending some time on it, you know, and this is not the only Friday I'm going to talk about it. You know why? There are times when we say something and it gets lost in all of the other noise. But I want to do this every time I come here on a Friday. I'm going to remind persons. And I believe I have this package here on my phone. You know, I'm going to send it on WhatsApp to people. Yeah, send it out to the folks out there. Let them go down to the Ministry of Finance. When I go through that down by the Ministry of Finance and I drive around there, I need to see some lines down there. Maybe not on Monday or next week or whatever, but as time go by, when you avail yourself of this information or you're familiar with what is being offered, I want you to take advantage of it. Some may have to take a loan, well, so be it. It will be a good loan to take. Some may have the cash available. It would be good money to spend. That's okay. Because you know what? You're spending it on yourself. You're spending it on your property. You're enhancing the value of your property. And you're making yourself more comfortable so that you can live comfortably. Yeah? So go ahead and do what you have to do. It is what it is, for sure. But the government is really making an effort to ensure that the people of Nevis are taken care of for this upcoming Culturama celebration, Culturama 50 2024, that is. So I spent some time on it for a reason, and that is why I believe that I did so, because I do believe that it is an important initiative, one that can certainly yield benefit for everyone. The government will miss out on some taxes, of course, but that is, it's not the government's thing to worry about that. I think when you hear the slogan, people matter most, that is what this initiative is about, seeking to do the best for the people of Nevis and to ensure the people of Nevis are the recipient of what is being offered by the government, and that they would be much better off as a result. So, Culturama 50, I'm going to come back to that at some point next week and the weeks after, because I myself, want to make sure that we all have a wonderful time, just like we did in 2014. I was saying to myself the other day, I might even go and write a calypso, something like a road march for Culturama 50. I wonder how I'll get it done. Anyway, I'm going to say, anyone out there who want to write one for me, just tell me what it costs. Don't break my back though, but tell me what it costs, and if you come up with something good, I'll go and sing it for Culturama 50. Because all of us must be involved in some shape or form to make sure that this one is the best ever, because of the milestone that we are seeking to celebrate at this time. Yeah? Okay, so that takes care of that. And sorry, I was going to talk quickly about jobs here on the island of Nevis. Every day you see these jobs being posted, advertised by whether the Labor Department or sometimes the Premier of Nevis would have that on his Facebook page, or other entities, let's say Mount Nevis, or this place over there in St. Thomas Parish, Villa Paradise or Paradise, whatever it's called. Some of the hotels here are seeking additional workers because of the increase in the demand for their services. Indeed, all up and down Nevis, with all of these new restaurants being open, everyone is seeking new employees. And I want to say to the people of Nevis, some of you have a job already, perhaps with the government, and then you can get something to do in the evening. Go ahead and do it. Supplement your government salary with whatever else you can get. Don't be shy about anything, because money money have an important role to play in your life, in that you can't get what you need without money. Yes, you can get salvation without money. You can get certain things. You can breathe the air. You can go down to the beach and swim. But indeed, you have to have food in your belly to go down there and do that. And I'm being real. You have to have the sustenance to do that. So that's why I say, whatever you do, you need money. You need money to pay your bills. You need money to, if you have children going to school, to finance them in terms of buying their books, their uniform, paying for their lunch. You need money to support the vehicle that you have. It needs servicing, it needs tires, it needs whatever. You need money to pay whatever for entertainment and the like. So the more you have, it can be better for you. Money is not all, but yes, you do need money to survive. So if you're making a salary right now from the government, and you hear there is a job opening somewhere in the evening to do whatever it is, at a restaurant, at a hotel, or some other business establishment, I say to you, go ahead and make the arrangements. Make sure you have all the arrangements in place, and go on and do what is necessary so that you can take advantage. Some of these opportunities don't last forever, of course, but at least as it is now, while the situation is as it is, take advantage of it and make sure that you are adding and supplementing what you're currently making. Nothing is wrong with that. Those additional funds can be used to save it, even for Culturama. Even if you want to take advantage of the incentives that I just gave you here, that the government is offering, all those monies can be channeled towards that. So there are reasons for you to do what you have to do in terms of taking making use of the added opportunities that are available to you. So jobs are available, and the economy here in Nevis, we are feeling that upswing. The job numbers would suggest that there is an improvement in the economy, and indeed persons' spending power have improved. And irrespective of what, I say to you that we have come a long way since 2020, when we were visited by COVID-19, when the entire world was impacted, where movements was shut down, airports were closed, borders were closed, people were not going anywhere, monies were not moving, monies were not generated, and it was a difficult situation then. And if you look at the numbers, you have seen an improvement in the collection of revenue by the government. You have seen an increase in the amount of employment out there. You have seen an increase in the amount of spending, and that is reflected even in December, when you would have heard that it was one of those VAT period where persons would have spent a tremendous amount of money on building materials and other items right here on the island of Nevis. So it therefore means a lot of money is circulating out there. You go to the various restaurants, and our young people and our citizens here are going out and having a dinner, enjoying themselves, and I commend them for that, because when it's all said and done, all of those business establishments out there depend on all of us to spend $1 or $2 with them, so as to maintain the employment that they have, so that they can pay their taxes to government, so that they can have money circulating through the economy, whether through the government coffers or even their own coffers, so that we can have some buoyancy here on the island of Nevis. So all of these things have connections. One depend on the other and depend on the other. So you cannot take anything out of the equation. So I want us all to keep that in mind, that things are moving in the right direction here on the island of Nevis. Indeed, there are challenges, no doubt about that, but the pluses are much greater than whatever minuses you might hear. Whatever negatives you may hear, there are more positives here on the island of Nevis. And that is why I've extended the invitation to one and all to come home and have a look at your beautiful island. Have a look at the island of Nevis, because most times when you hear anything being said, it is geared towards you out there in the diaspora who are listening to what is coming from some of the media houses here, that things are so bad as they claim. But many times when you land here and you see what is going on, it is a complete opposite to what you would normally hear on some of these media houses. But I will say to you, once you're listening to Von Radio, it's always going to be positive coming from these microphones, because that is what we do here. I understand the tagline here is only the best will do. I am going towards the end of the show, because there's no need starting anything new. We have just a few minutes left, and I'm almost out of time. Yeah, I'm almost out of time. So let me go in a wrap-up phase and say to you that based on what I've said here, I'm going to repeat again. Go down to the Ministry of Finance. If you want to go on Monday, please go. Make your inquiries. Start your plans to take advantage of this Culturama 50 homecoming celebration package that is being offered by the government. And indeed, in the process as well, I want you to start making your plans, not only for Culturama first, but start making your plans for the Agri Expo that will be held in March 21st to the 22nd. And indeed, all of these activities come one behind the other, so you plan accordingly. Indeed, we are coming up to Easter as well, to where we'll have various celebrations, which we'll talk about hopefully next week or in the subsequent weeks. But there are lots of things happening here on the island of Nevis. Lots of things to take advantage of, lots of things to enjoy, lots of things to take advantage of. And indeed, Nevis is nice. That's all I want to end up by saying. Nevis is nice and getting nicer every day. But ladies and gentlemen, yes, that is my quota for today. And indeed, it was my pleasure being here. I would hate to think that I go overtime here at Von Radio, because they'll bill me for it. And God knows I don't have the extra funds for that. So I'll leave it as that. And say it was my pleasure being here. I enjoy coming here every Friday afternoon. It is becoming part of me now, and I love it, because I like spending my lunch hour with you, and I enjoy it very much. So go on out and have a wonderful and safe weekend. And of course, Sunday, go to church, enjoy your weekend, stay safe. And I'll wrap up by saying that if someone tells you who they are, take them at their word. But if they show you who they are, you better believe them, because they're showing you their true colors. With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. May God continue to bless the island of Nevis, bless all the people here on the island of Nevis, and the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis as well. So have a wonderful weekend. God bless you. Take care, and bye-bye.
opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.
The afternoon time has moved on to 2 o'clock.
With all the power from the tower, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, VON Radio, from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.